Now we'll talk about some of the commonly known assessments and tests. Now the first one is the high stakes and low stakes test. Now high stake test, as the name suggests, is a test on which a lot of the next step or next stage is dependent. For example, the tests conducted at the end of year in schools, or the test conducted for the entrance into an institute at the undergraduate or the postgraduate level can be called high stakes test, because based on these results the next step is determined. The next step would be the admission to the next class level, the college, or now opposite to that is a low stake test on which nothing significant next step depends. So it does not determine a person's getting or not getting into any second stage. Now a low stakes test can be a test conducted in a classroom by the teacher just to assess how much the students know till now. A low stakes test can also be a kind of an interview or a discussion among people by their instructor to understand how much do they know about a particular concept. A low stake test, as we can infer, is mostly conducted to diagnose a problem or understand the levels of understanding in people. The next type of assessments that we look on are formative and summative assessments. Now formative assessments are the assessments or tests that are conducted to determine how much the people have learned and what changes can be brought about in the teaching strategy to improve the learning. These formative tests can be anything like a discussion, an interview, writing, making the people write down what all they know about a concept, or even having a small test where the teacher or the instructor understands what all have the people absorbed and where are they lacking in to make changes in the ongoing teaching process. So for example, if a teacher asks the students to write down all they know about, say, fractions, and then analyzes what all are the students writing and what important things are most of them missing out, then she can go back and make them understand these things that they missed out. This is kind of a formative assessment. Now a summative assessment are some standardized tests which are taken at regular intervals to determine the performance of people. This is the purpose of the summative test is more as an indicator of how much the person has learned rather than to understand what changes have to be made in the teaching and learning strategy. The next important type of assessment is the diagnostic test or the diagnostic assessment. Now a diagnostic test is focused at determining what key ideas have people learned and not learned. Also it tries to determine what particular misconceptions do people have. Now another type of test which might fall into other categories also is a large scale assessment or a large scale test. A large scale assessment, as the name suggests, is a test conducted over a large population, maybe across schools or across states or even across countries. Certain assessments like the PISA or the IBT, the International Benchmarking Test, are tests conducted across states and across countries to understand the learning levels in people. Now again, this kind of test might also be a diagnostic test